All right, here we are.
Oh,
First video. First fucking video.
one of one, baby.
That's right. That's right.
So, Jeff, how did we meet?
How did we meet? We met in Hawaii. Believe it or not, we met in Hawaii. So, yeah, I don't know what the fuck I was doing down there, but we
You
had a
know, you
hell
know why
of
you were there.
a time.
You gotta. I think the interesting side of things is what brought us both to Thomas's place, and that's what's intriguing to me. Because I have a bigger story probably you haven't heard that I wasn't gonna be at Thomas's, and kind of there was a change of events last minute that brought me there. But um, yeah, what brought you to Hawaii?
Well, I was actually a corporate drone, and I had been working in the automotive industry for about 3 or 4 years. And I was working at Volkswagen in Chattanooga at the time. And I'd say I'd been there for about 9 months. And throughout the 4 years that I had worked in the corporate world, I had always felt this sense of dissatisfaction and lack of fulfillment. And I'd really pursued fulfillment in a variety of ways outside of work. I did a lot of reading, a lot of philosophy and spirituality. I really tended to gravitate toward that kind of stuff because I found it interesting, and I thought for sure there's a better chance of finding the fulfillment that I'm seeking in that stuff than what I was getting out of work. It just felt really really empty to me. But after about 9 months at VW, I really decided that it was time for an overhaul. It was time to do something completely different with my life. So I got into travel and I started. I had never thought about travel before in my life. I had never thought,
What
well,
is what instigated that for you?
well, a couple of things. So, like I said, I had never even considered the idea of going to another country on my own or even taking an extended trip. Like, a lot of people they plan for vacations to the Bahamas, and they say, oh, travel is in my soul and I want to go and travel and see the world. I was never like that, but I I took a hard look at what are my options. I mean, the world the world is full of opportunities, and here I am not happy. So I got to change something, and it really just came to me as an intuition. Well, shit, the world is a huge place, and there's so much out there. Why not go and see more of it? If I'm not satisfied with what I'm seeing now, what's stopping me from going somewhere that I've never been before, completely different than what I'm seeing now? And after it hit me, I thought, wow, this is really a great opportunity right in front of my face. So I read a couple of books. How to Travel the World on $50 a Day is
Oh, look at
is an
that, you got
excellent.
a handy.
Yeah, yeah, by Matt Kepnes. The Matt Kepnes. The
What was that? How to travel for $50 a day?
Yeah, How to Travel the World on $50 a Day. So
Did you do that?
he calls himself Nomadic Matt, and he's made I think like three different renditions of the book. But it really inspired me. The main thing that book did for me is it made travel possible. He broke it down and he made me realize that it's just a practical thing like anything else. All you have to do is get down in the details and see how much it's going to cost. Be smart about your expenses. You can travel anywhere that you want to travel as long as
Yeah.
you're brave enough to go there. And it really opened my eyes. Um,
Did you
no,
apply
I,
some
I
of the
wouldn't.
principles?
What's that?
Did you apply some of the principles from the
Many.
book? Yeah.
Yes, many,
Did you
many of
did
the
you
principles.
survive on $50 a day?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I survived. So one of the main things he's saying is $50 a day over the course of a year is $18,250, and he's saying take a year trip, and all you need is $18,000 to travel the world for an entire year, to leave and not come home for an entire year, and go to all these different places. And he does a great job of breaking it down by region. For instance, he says Southeast Asia is like $25 a day, maybe $20 a day if you're in the north part of Thailand because it's really cheap. And southern islands of Thailand are a little bit more, but Australia is $50 a day. And Sweden, Norway, Iceland, those are $70 a day. They're really expensive places. Even if you're staying in a hostel, really trying to buy groceries and minimize your expenses, then it's hard to get by for less than $70 a day because the cost of living is just so high. So he does a good job of breaking that down. And yes, I applied many of the principles. So actually, the funny thing is, that's why I ended up in Hawaii, because Hawaii is really big on woofing, volunteering on farms.
Yeah.
So worldwide organization of organic farms, fucking mouthful, but that's what
That's what it's called?
worldwide
No, that
organization
worldwide.
of organic farms.
What is it? Worldwide what? Organization of Organic Farms?
Yeah, exactly. And that's that's what I got out of his book, and I found out that Hawaii was big on that, and I'm like, this is fucking perfect. I can go there to this place that would otherwise be way too expensive, but I can have all my boarding and room covered by someone if I'm willing to volunteer for 25 hours a week. So fuck yes. So Hawaii immediately made my list because of that. And
You were away for what, 6 months when you left VW? How long were you traveling for?
yeah, about
Going
yeah,
back and forth at you.
in total for traveling. I mean, I left work for a year. I was off work for a year, but I spent a couple of 2 or 3 months in total at home. I came back a couple of times for my brother's wedding and for a couple of other important family events. But I traveled for about really 8 or 9 months in total with Hawaii, Thailand, Egypt, Iceland. But coming back to Hawaii, it was the last stop. It was the last stop on my adventure that I'd planned for myself. And I was on the woofing site looking for a good host, someone that seemed to have what I was looking for. And to be honest, I have no farming experience. I like to get my hands dirty. I'm from a small town.
Did you hype it
It's
up
like
that you
growing.
had some experience?
What's that?
Did you hype it up that you had some experience?
I
Because I did.
I might have exaggerated a tiny bit, but I largely I would say I told like 90% truth about
Yeah.
what my experience was. So I have a lot of experience working outdoors, like mowing, weed whacking, using
Oh yeah.
chainsaws, outdoor equipment. Like, yeah, I can get my hands dirty. I can't tell you how many gardens I've weeded and shit like that. So I have experience, and I like working outdoors. That's the truth. So I didn't sell too many things that were incorrect about me. But Thomas's place spoke to me because most of the work wasn't farming work. He said that yes, I have like 75 trees. Half of them are caracara trees and others are orange trees, like basically citrus stuff. But it wasn't a high degree of like, all we do is farming and planting. No, he said the majority of the work here is building his farmhouse and his building that he wants to do all of his projects in. So I liked that. I was more drawn to that kind of work, to helping him build that place. And it seemed like he had a nice guest house. And Waimanalo also was a draw for me. So Waimanalo, for anyone who doesn't know, is this really small town on the north side of Oahu. And I mean, Oahu's not a big island. It's only about 10, 15 miles from Honolulu. So
It's too small. That's what it is. But Waimanao is the only Hawaiian reserve left on Oahu.
Yes, yeah, it's really the only local place you can go.
Which I don't.
It is local. it
It's
is.
super.
Remember that fucking bar with where we were playing darts?
What was that place called?
We were the only
Fuck,
white
I wish.
guys in there.
Do you remember what that place was called?
No, but they did karaoke on Sunday nights, and
What was it called?
I
It's like a different country over there, man, to be honest.
No,
It's
it
not
feels like
the
when you're
states
in
have.
Limonalo, it feels like a different country. Actually, yeah, everywhere it feels
Even
like.
in like Hawaii, really though. Well, I mean, I guess when you go downtown to Honolulu, it's like it's very gringo-y. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was like remember remember right across the way there was that one house on the corner that had the pit bulls, and there was just two big, massive Hawaiian dudes, and they just grew pot right out on the front porch. And one night the SWAT team came through and busted them. You remember that? Remember we were watching that on the you don't remember?
No.
SWAT team came. It was like the SWAT or the cops came and they busted him one night. And we were just watching out on the porch drinking beers.
Fuck. Fucking hell.
But yeah, Hawaii. To be honest, we connected right off the bat on The Alchemist. I feel like,
Yeah, we did.
and
That's right.
talking about what else did we talk about? We talked about Deepak a little bit, and just
Yeah,
reading some books.
you borrowed me the Seven Spiritual Laws of
Yeah,
Success.
yeah. I
And
remember you're reading that front to end in like a couple days.
yeah, oh God, I really got into it. I spent a whole day off. As soon as we got off work, I was really into that book.
Yeah,
I appreciated that.
yeah. But I think The Alchemist is really what, because that's kind of what brought me to Hawaii, and I love that book. That story, I don't know, it just spoke to me in the perfect time of my life, dropping out of college, and really the only book that I've ever had a connection to and finished completely. Like I hated reading since I could remember. Since I was a kid, I could never finish a book. I could never read, just didn't like it. But
I
once
wouldn't have guessed that about you. I would not have guessed that at all.
I couldn't do it, man. I hated it. I don't know why, but I think it was more so the Yep, I could go read out of mine too. What do
That's
you got?
right.
All your books lined up? That's my favorite book. I need to reread it
Well,
again.
I'm using my bookcase as a stand
Ah,
for my Skype
that's
here.
perfect.
It
Actually,
was
I
the
can
thing
do that.
that was the perfect height. So now I just happen to have all my books on hand for
That's
this
a good
purpose.
idea.
But yeah, the Alchemist is what a great book. It's really abstract and he gets out there um, a little bit, but it's so inspiring. He just has a sense of life that is so adventurous, and the net effect for me of reading The Alchemist was just feeling more inspired and adventurous about my life. Like it's good to face your fears and go have an adventure, and he encourages you to do that with the story. And so it so yeah, you're talking about The Alchemist. You're starting to get into it. So tell me about what got you to Thomas's, because I told you a little bit about what got me there, but where were you before, and what led you to Hawaii? What was the path?
So what brought me to Hawaii and Thomas's?
Yes. Yeah.
Um, that could be a very long, long answer. And the simple answer is college. That's what brought me there. Um, College was never for me, man. I hated it from the get-go. Well, I shouldn't say I hated it from the get-go. I didn't have any sense of direction once I entered school. I, from the beginning, I didn't know where I wanted to go. I had so many options. I was just clueless. And I played soccer my whole life, played throughout high school. I had an opportunity to carry on through college, so I pursued that, which was fun as hell, man. It was a lot of work to play a college sport, but dude, it was fun as hell. Anyway, fast forward, switched schools. I transferred to New York school, did the whole fraternity thing, followed that route, and um, I had fun, but I still didn't have any sense of of fulfillment, like you were saying with your job. Like I felt empty. I felt disconnected from a lot of things, and I always wanted to kind of just drop out, leave school, and pursue my own path of attaining knowledge and finding myself outside of the social cultural structure of things. And I wanted to do that. I pursued to drop out, but my parents kind of pushed me in the direction of keep with it for a little longer and maybe something will fall into place. So they offered me the opportunity to go to Australia for an internship abroad, study abroad kind of program, which was also kind of what that's a big thing that changed my trajectory in life and opened me up to traveling and all that. Because I never really thought about traveling either. I mean, it was just like we did it for vacation and that was it. Never thought of like living abroad and taking it on full time and spending 3 months away from home in Australia and pursuing like an internship job. It was invaluable, to be honest, the experiences I had from that. But that really opened my eyes as to what is possible and to how much fun, like, to be honest, we can have in this life. And ever since that moment, I came back from there. I was happy. I was content. Like there was some switch flipped in me. Came back and I started to get back into the swing of school. I mean, I still hated class till the death of me. I fucking hated everything about it. I kind of cut every single corner you can think of to just get by with decent grades. Like I knew if I applied myself, I could have a 4.0 GPA easily. It's not hard. It's just all about the time you put in, and then you get the return. But it's really not hard at the end of the day to understand the concepts that are being brought forward and whatnot. But I just thought it was useless. I didn't see the point of the stuff that was being taught, and it just wasn't going to be useful in the long term of my life.
No, getting
So
good grades is more an exercise in obedience than it
exactly,
is a
that's what it
demonstration
is.
of intelligence. When you get out into now that I'm working in the corporate world for 4 or 5 years, I'm not going to say the real world. There's no such thing as the real world compared to anything else. But the truly successful people who are really driving the world forward and making genuine progress for themselves and for humanity are really, it's not even a cliche. They're not the people who you cannot predict success by good grades. It's it's just not it's not the kind of person that drives the world forward. It's more about being open to life and more adventurous and willing to follow your own path. The kind of people who really make an impact are not obedient. They're not the people who do that. So I have to give
Exactly.
you props for following that path, because I was the opposite. I got good grades in high school, in college. I've always been more obedient to the cultural system, cultural indoctrination, and now I have a very I've changed who I am and the way I approach life. And there's a lot of fuck you to culture in the way that I approach my life, because I realize how dangerous and damaging it is to the human spirit. It's to my spirit, and it's you
Well, I
must
think
follow your own path. But yeah, that's a segue from what you were saying. But I understand. I understand where you're coming from. So you so
well,
you are
I just want to touch on what you said. I think it's
yeah
interesting because I've gotten into things like I don't want to say throw out conspiracy right away, but I've gotten into the history of things. And if you look at modern schooling and the construction of it and where it originated from, yeah, it was constructed for obedience measures and to kind of transform the psyche and transform our consciousness into being more disciplined and not thinking as necessarily outside the box and creating our own lives. But culture, it seems that culture, I mean, it's American culture, to be honest, or Western culture.
yeah.
Um, I don't think every culture is necessarily bad or has this dogma about it, but I think it's our culture which is the problem, to be honest, and we're having the impact on the rest of the world, which is furthering that culture,
I
and it's
I think
becoming one in a
uh,
way.
baby and bathwater. So
Oh,
Western culture, there's some good. There's some good in Western culture, mainly from my perspective, freedom, freedom to make your own choices, and at
ooh,
least
that's a
to,
touchy subject right there.
it is. It is. I would say
Touchy
economic freedom is one of the parts that's the baby of Western culture that you don't want to throw out with the bathwater. But Yes, it's very flawed. I would say that it serves a necessary purpose. Of course, there's a lot of things to be grateful for Western civilization. That we have a lot of technological progress, and we have a lot of comforts that people 50 years ago would never have imagined. The comfort that we live in, and that's largely based
See,
on
I don't think that's good though. In some
well,
circumstances, I don't.
it
This is a
no,
big topic. I don't know
it's
if we should get into it.
no, it's something we can. That's something that we're going to discuss for sure in later videos. That's something that we need to touch on.
Yeah.
I'll close my end of it by saying there's a lot of things to be grateful for, but I think to live a truly fulfilling life, it must be transcended. You can't just stop there and take its values for granted. You have to
Ooh,
transcend
yeah. I
it.
agree with that. I agree with that 100%. But yeah, that should be an interesting topic between you and I, because I
It
think on a
will
lot of things,
it will be.
you and I share we share similar ideas, but then again, we have different viewpoints. So it would be good to kind of exchange those thoughts with one another, and we'll see where it goes from there. But anyway, getting back to what were we talking about?
Yeah,
Okay,
back on track.
yeah, school. So yeah, basically came back from Australia. School was never for me. I still cut the corners, but I enjoyed college. I enjoyed most was just the social aspects of meeting people. You know, I was into drinking and all that, and that was fun to me. I enjoyed it. It was something I don't regret at all, even as to how many times it fucked me over for tests and whatnot. But that aspect of college was fun. Definitely do not regret it, and I think everyone should experience that kind of side of things in one way or another. But so I stretched out my college career by not taking all the classes I needed to take in the time I needed. So I didn't graduate with all my other friends like the same year. You probably went to school for what, 4 years? Yeah. So I was kind of I had an extra year on my back. So once all my friends graduated, it kind of switched things up a little bit. You know, you get a little lonely. You don't have those social networks anymore. Um, so I started to just think of this idea, like I'm finally gonna drop out. Like I have one more semester left, but I was like, I pushed myself too far. This is it. Like I was living a lie basically, and I committed to it. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna drop out. Hawaii for some reason popped in my mind. I forget. I don't think there's any specific reason why. I knew I wanted to explore places that I may want to live one day, and I love the tropics. I love the beach and everything. So I don't know why. I know woofing played a part in it too, because once I started research, how do I live without much money? Woofing popped up. So yeah, Hawaii was just it was just like intuitively the place to go. And yeah, I once I made that decision to drop out and go to Hawaii, I made it fucking happen. And that was one of the biggest realizations that once you put your mind to something and you really want it and you commit to it and you make it happen, that I don't know, that shifts something in me right there. That alone, just making that trip to Hawaii, committing to the process of dropping out, that that showed me a lot of what the mind and just myself is capable of. But what brought me to Thomas's was I was originally, so I planned my trip out. I had my place booked, I had my flight booked, and I wasn't originally gonna go to Thomas's actually. I was gonna go to like some like hippy dippy place. It was like vegan and you're
Yeah, you were
sleeping
vegan
out
at
in
the
the
time. That's right.
bush.
That's right.
Yeah, you're sleeping out in the bush, and it was like I don't know, biodynamic farm, all that stuff. And
There's a
I
lot of
remember,
those in Hawaii.
yep. And I was just coming off veganism at the time, which is a whole nother topic. But um, yeah, so I was gonna do that, and a week and a half before, it was like super short time period. I forget the exact time period, but I think I reached out to the guy, and he just stopped answering me. Just gave me the cold shoulder. I was like, what the fuck, man? And I kept reaching out to him, and he just didn't answer. And I was like, shit, I don't know where to go. I don't know this dude's
You
address. I don't
you
know.
already had your travel
Yeah,
booked and everything.
yeah,
Or
exactly.
you hadn't left for Hawaii yet, but your travel was booked and you were going.
Exactly, yeah. So I was like, shit, I'm shit out of luck, kind of, because I was planning on going to Hawaii and living there for a while. I was planning on staying there for a very long time. I didn't have a return flight or anything, so I kind of got a little frantic and I hopped on Wolf and Thomas's, let alone anyone else's, came up, and he got back to me like next day or super short time period. And I was just like, "You're my savior, man. You're my savior." But I don't think he was a savior. I think you might have been the savior, or that was the meaning of working out at Thomas's, was to meet you and fucking everyone else. Why am I blanking on their names right now?
Sean and
Bari and what that Sean shit.
yeah, Sean and Bari. Oh baby.
But anyway, yeah, that's how I fell into Thomas's and The Alchemist. That's kind of what drew me to committing to the process of going to Hawaii. It just, the story aligned so much with mine, of the guy that stayed. I could tell you all. I mean, you already know the story, but I don't know if you remember. I don't know. I found this very symbolic, but at the end of the story, do you remember when he goes to the pyramid?
Yeah.
And I forget if he's like digging or something, but there's a symbolic meaning with the beetle. Remember that part?
With the beetle? No,
Yeah.
I don't remember with the beetle.
But I tell you, I shit you not. So he went to the pyramid and basically realized that the treasures were back home, right?
Yeah, because the guy tells him, the guy,
Yeah.
the guys that beat him up, they tell
Yeah.
him that it was under some worthless tree back home, and it was right where he started his journey.
Yeah. Yeah. I find that so fascinating. But he was digging I forget, he was digging at the pyramid, I remember, and that's when the guys found him. And there was a point where there's a beetle that came into the story. But right when that happened, I shit you not, there was a beetle on my fucking arm. It was like it wasn't a beetle. It was like one of those stink bugs, but it looked like a beetle. It looks like a beetle. So I don't know. I connected those two together. Right when I was reading that passage in the book, there was a beetle on my arm, and that, I don't know, that was very symbolic to me. I was like, something's right here, and this is the universe's sign telling me something's going on, and you're following the right path or something. But yeah, I found that interesting.
So, two things that I got to say. One, what you said about how you felt in college. Yeah, I know. Like you were living a lie. That's how I felt at work. I felt like I was literally, everything about what I was doing was fundamentally dishonest. No matter how hard I tried on the surface to make things right, where I was and what I was doing at the bottom, underneath everything, I was just denying my reality. Like, I guess the fundamental lie for me was that I wouldn't admit how unhappy I was and really live how unhappy I was. Because if I admitted how unhappy I was, then I had to leave. And that's
Mm.
finally what I did. And the second thing that you said is that feeling, that power that you experienced when you booked your flight and when you left. Because that's, I think the power of that is, even if you don't know exactly where you're going, you somehow made your own path. You decided that despite the path that's given to you, which is given to everybody, the standard cultural path of go to college, get a job, and find a significant other of the opposite sex, and have children, raise
Well,
children.
nowadays it's not about the opposite sex.
Nowadays, it's not about the opposite sex. You're exactly right. Find a significant other in either way. That's always the standard traditional American, but of course it's changing now. But you looked outside of that and said, even if I don't
We
know
both
exactly
did.
where I'm going, I'm making my own path, and that's a hell of a lot of power, because that sets a precedent for the rest of your life. You change who you
Exactly.
are. And that's
Exactly.
exactly what I experienced when I left. I was never the same person. Just even though it didn't matter if I went to Thailand, Iceland, didn't matter where I went. Just the fact that I decided I am fucking miserable in my life. And
Yeah, man.
I'm finally going to own the fact that I'm miserable and I'm going to do something about it. And that was me listening to my negative emotions and to my spirit's voice. And finally, my spirit's just crying out in despair for something to change. And finally, I just said, I've had enough. I'm going to listen to my own conscience, and I'm going.
Hmm.
And it was the right decision.
I think for me, it just made me realize that I'm in control of this shit. No one else is controlling my path except
You're,
myself.
that's right.
I'm driving my own car.
Hey,
I'm not gonna have anyone else driving it for me.
and that's the thing. The thing is, even if you spend your whole life following the cultural path and taking the path that's given to you by someone else, you were still the CEO the whole time. You chose to follow that path. And what we're doing is just acknowledging the truth that's already there. You are the CEO of your life and you're responsible for making that choice. So fuck yes, because we're making
Mhm.
that choice. And
It's funny,
now
man.
it
We
just
literally
gets better and
we had very similar paths as to how we met.
yeah, we
Like
did.
we both fell into this similar rhetoric of cultural unhappiness.
Yes. Yes, it's just it's it's nice to have met somebody. We hit it off right away, and I think
Yeah.
that
I mean,
we sensed that in each other, that we had a similar kind of dissatisfaction with the conventional world, and
mm,
that we both I could sense that you had that adventurous spirit and a little bit of that fuck you attitude toward the conventional way of doing things, and I was drawn to that for sure. So
yeah, man.
that's how it happened in Hawaii, man. What a fucking
That's
place.
that's what we're going back to one day, right?
That's where we're going back to.
I mean, our story of our trip in Hawaii is interesting, but we'll keep it for another day.
For sure. For sure.
But I like hearing that story, to be honest, because it puts things back into perspective. Because that was a very powerful time in my life, and I'm sure it was in yours as to that changed our lives basically. You
It
can't
did.
forget about that moment.
No, I mean that's not a that's not an everyday change. It was a major turning point for me to be there, and then to have the bonus of meeting you, and yeah, there were turning points for sure. But this is the first of many videos, and we have a lot to talk about in the other ones, and we'll touch on the things that we love to touch about. I know you're focused on the material side. You're really pioneering your own path in the material side of things. You have
Yeah,
such
let's
a
talk about
profound
that.
awareness of the body. Even before we were doing this video, we were talking a little bit, and you were telling me about how drinking coffee down in Florida was affecting your body differently than back in New York when you were around the beach and the waves and the sun, and you seem to have a very profound awareness and focus about what's going on with your body, and you're very attuned to that, and I respect that. I can learn something from that for sure.
Mm, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mm.
I don't think I ever sit back and realize how connected I am versus what I was in the past. But on the flip side, what about you? You're the philosophical guy. You're the guy
Mm.
that does the reading and the in-depth thinking. I mean, I partake in it myself. I definitely have not read up to par as much as you have, and I wouldn't say I have the knowledge that you have on that side of things, the more spiritually intellectual side of things. But that's where we're going to marry with these videos. We're going to marry the physical and the more so spiritual side of things together, right?
Yes, yes, that's right. You're absolutely right. That's my passion is philosophy and spirituality, and really the practical application of the two in our lives. I think that life is a game played between the ears, and the more you realize the choices that you have in that area of your life, the better your life can be. And that's really my approach, and that's what I'm going to bring to the table in these videos. And I look forward to doing that because I mean, on one hand, I love some philosophical masturbation, just to sit and read a book about philosophy by Ken Wilber and just revel in the majesty of his wisdom, and other philosophers like Descartes. And yeah, it's my passion for sure. But I'm more interested in the practical application and how it can make our lives better. So that's largely what I'm gonna bring. I can't fucking wait.
But
Can't
I think
fucking wait. I'm just having this first video. I'm really excited for the rest.
But it puts us both to the test to just increase our knowledge base and to expand our awareness of what both of us pursue. It helps us learn more, you know?
Yeah.
But I think we also share the idea that we want to live optimally. We want to live this life to its fullest capacity. We don't want to be constrained by certain factors necessarily if we're not aware to them.
No, we want to find out how much choice we have, and we want to make all the choices that we can make in order to live optimally. We don't want to be blind to the choices. That's why we need to keep growing our wisdom so we can make better choices and live more optimally. Yeah, 100%. In every way, every area of life. That's our shared goal for sure. Is to experience an optimal life.
Yeah. And I think the bullet to bite for people nowadays is a lot of people, let's say, are asleep. They're not aware to what's going on around them. They're not aware to the world that's surrounding them.
Or the world that's inside of them for most people.
Yes. Okay. Yes, exactly. That's what we're going to be. Yes. 100%. So they're not aware of these worlds within and outside of themselves. And sometimes it's not too pretty to hear or to acknowledge the truth or some of the dark spots. But with that, that's how you see the light, you know, and the more so the greater scheme, the greater landscape of what living actually is. And that's what I really want to get into, is begin to help people get aware of the world we live in, the factors that can be debilitating to health or favoring health, whether it's mental or physically. And yeah, that's something I'd really love to get into with you. And I think that's where we're going to take this.
Yes. Yeah.
And just offer people just a knowledge base.
To become conscious is scary. Everybody has places in their lives that they would rather not look. Every person has those, and it's not easy to face the dark places and to grow in consciousness. There's a reason that we become so controlled by our habits, and we take the paths that are given to us, and we end up living suboptimal lives. It can be scary to live fully, but it's worth it. And hopefully you and I can inspire people, and we can show them that it's worth it to do that, to open more to life and to make better choices and to reap the rewards of living optimally. And I would like to extend for sure in our videos compassion to anybody who's willing to face the darkness, and because it's not easy. It's not easy to do that, but it's worth it. So sure that's where we're headed with this.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely not easy to face, especially when you're by yourself or you feel like you're by yourself. And finding someone like you or reaching out to someone like us can be a world of difference in that kind of scenario.
Yes, you and I, even if you send me a text message in the morning, a couple days a week, you remind me to face my fears and to live big and to really see myself as bigger than my challenges and keep pushing forward. And it makes a world of difference to have real companionship.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can have friends and you can have companions, but the best kind of friend you can have is the kind of person you can share your darkness and face your challenges with. That's a powerful friend. That's the kind of friend that I'm grateful to have. So
Yeah.
hopefully we can inspire more people to live like that, and maybe we can make some more friends like that. I sure as hell hope so.
Yeah, we could expand this community right here. Just
Yes,
you and I.
that'd be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, friendship is definitely another topic I'd love to get into because that's something I put a lot of thought into in my early childhood. But
Get into it.
Jeff, I'm glad I fucking met you in Hawaii.
You too, Jonathan. Man, it's so I'll be here in Indiana, and we'll be doing a video. Our goal is to do a video every week.
Yeah. Every Saturday we're gonna shoot for?
Every Saturday. Yep.
Okay.
We'll shoot for it.
And we're just gonna be pumping out information on physical and spiritual wellness and optimal living, basically.
Yeah.
I don't think we have a clear cut path as to how this is going to be executed, but it's going to unfold as it does, and it's going to be beautiful however it fucking comes out.
Yes. Yeah. It's as long as we're having fun, then that's the main thing, and we'll get more organized as we go along. But let's just have some fucking fun and keep it loose.
Yep. Keep it loose, baby.
All right. Well, I'll see you next time on Saturday. And
next Saturday.
Yeah, we gotta post this. We gotta post our first one. So.
One of one.
One of one.
So what are we sticking with? I liked mind, body, money.
Yeah, that's
like that. Mind, body, money.
Yeah, let's.
I think that encapsulates it all.
I don't know. I kind of liked the mind fuckers or the brain exploders. Those were two of my favorites. But well, let's take it offline. We'll decide before we post it what our name is going to be, and then that'll be the name of the YouTube account.
Okay. All right. Peace out, man.
Peace.